The Peter Schiff Show.
It turns out that Newt Gingrich was paid between $1.6 and $1.8 million in 2006. And I'm not sure if he got all the money in '06 or if it was over a period of 2 or 3 years. Certainly $1.6 to $1.8 million is a lot of money to be paid by Freddie and Fannie. I'm not sure if it was Freddie or Fannie or both of them. But I certainly know that he was paid by one of those guys. And of course, when the news first came out, the speaker said, well, they were paying me as a historian. A historian? Like, what is Freddie and Fannie? What do they need history lessons for? And if they want a history lesson, hey, you could buy one for a lot less than $1.6 million. There are a lot of history teachers out there that are working long hours. I'm sure could have used a few extra bucks. They could have come by Fannie and Freddie's office and taught them about history. I mean, I wonder what kind of history. Was it American history? European history? I mean, what kind of history were they interested in over there? I don't know. But anyway, then he said, well, it wasn't really history. They wanted my advice on the mortgage market and the housing market. And, of course, I told them it was a huge bubble that was going to burst. Yeah, I don't buy that for 1 second. First of all, they didn't need to pay the speaker $1.6 million. All they had to do is look me up on YouTube and watch my mortgage banker speech. I told them exactly what the problems were in the housing market. In fact, I've been peppering the internet for years, since 2004, with articles about how the housing market is going to implode and how Freddie and Fannie are going to go broke. So if they wanted somebody to educate them on the perils of the housing market, they didn't have to pay $1.6 million to Newt Gingrich. And, of course, I don't believe it for a second that Newt Gingrich warned Freddie and Fannie about anything. In fact, if he was warning about the housing problems back in 2006, show me the proof. Where is the Newt Gingrich was right video? Where are the articles he wrote? Where are the speeches? Show me something that the speaker had a clue that a housing collapse was imminent, let alone that he knew enough about it that he could charge Freddie and Fannie $1.6 million. No, the real reason, well, we'll talk about the real reason that Newt Gingrich collected $1.6 to $1.8 million from Freddie and Fannie when we get back. So stick around. You're listening to the Peter Schiff Show here at SchiffRadio.com. Welcome back. This is Peter Schiff here at SchiffRadio.com. Anyway, it is Freddie Mac, apparently, is the agency or quasi-government agency that paid the former speaker, Newt Gingrich, not Fannie Mae. So Freddie Mac paid $1.6 or $1.8 million, somewhere in there, to Newt Gingrich. Now, obviously, they didn't pay him, as the speaker suggests, for a history lesson. He might know history, but he don't know that much history. And even if he did, it's not worth that much money. They didn't pay him for advice on the housing market. Why? What does he know about the housing market or the mortgage market? Nothing. The only thing that Newt Gingrich had to offer that was worth $1.6 million was influence peddling. That's what he did. See, what Freddie Mac wanted was somebody to go to Washington who had connections, especially with Republicans, because at the time back in '06, there was some effort on the part of some Republicans to try to maybe rein in Freddie Mac. And so they paid Newt Gingrich this massive amount of money for his influence to go to his former colleagues and try to educate or brainwash them, persuade them into backing off, into trying to accept the value of this quasi-government agency. That's what they were buying. And, the fact that he had the gall, and, of course, I think he was right to say that Chris Dodd and Barney Frank should go to jail. But then again, probably so should Newt Gingrich. I mean, talk about hypocrisy. That is the ultimate in hypocrisy. When you're calling out other people for being on the take by Freddie or Fannie, and then you're on the take by the same company. I think this is going to do a lot of damage to the speaker. There is no way he can get around having taken so much money from these entities. There's only one explanation for how he could have done it. So he was therefore part of the problem. He is one of the reasons that we had a housing bubble, because he was there working behind the scenes to make sure that Fannie and Freddie were able to do the damage that they did with government protection. So I think this is going to be a big deal for the speaker. Also, more news on Freddie and Fannie is the huge bonuses that are being paid to their executives. Of course, there is no excuse for this. When these were supposedly market-based companies where you had shareholders who had some kind of say over what their executives were paid, and the executives were paid bonuses based on the profitability of the company, that was one thing. Now, of course, a lot of the profits were phony, and I think there should be big clawbacks. I think guys like Franklin Rain should have to cough up a lot of the money that they were paid over the years that obviously wasn't deserved. But that's another argument. But at this point, there is no excuse for paying anybody a large bonus at Freddie and Fannie when there are no shareholders. These are now government agencies, and they are not accountable to anybody. How they can pay anybody at Freddie and Fannie more than the President of the United States doesn't make any sense, because these are not managers. These are bureaucrats now who are running Freddie and Fannie. They work for the government, and there is no profit. They are still bleeding red ink. They are losing billions and billions of dollars. On what basis should they be paid bonuses? I guess they're going to try the old Obama line. Well, if it wasn't for us, the losses would have been even bigger, right? Hey, it could have been worse, so give us bonuses because we didn't lose billions more, right? That's Obama's line. Hey, it would have been worse. Yes, the economy's a wreck, but hey, if it wasn't for my policies, things would have been even worse. I guess that's a consistent line now coming out of the government. Pay me because it could have been worse.